The narrative around vitamin B6 toxicity has become one of the most misunderstood and overblown issues in the field of micronutrition. While it is true that excessive, prolonged intake of vitamin B6 can lead to toxicity, particularly nerve damage, this risk is often misinterpreted or exaggerated. As a result, many people, and even healthcare providers, err on the side of extreme caution, avoiding or underdosing B6 entirely, even when supplementation could provide critical therapeutic benefits. This widespread fear has played a major role in the underuse and underappreciation of one of the most biochemically essential vitamins in the human body. To be clear, yes, B6 toxicity is real. Chronic intake of high doses, generally over 500 milligrams per day, but in some cases as low as 200 milligrams daily, has been associated with a sensory neuropathy characterized by tingling, burning, numbness, and in severe cases, difficulty walking. But this toxicity is rare and almost always linked to long-term use of megadoses, not the modest therapeutic levels commonly recommended for addressing deficiency or supporting metabolic, neurological, or hormonal health. The fact that the toxic threshold lies hundreds of times above the daily requirement, about 1.3 to 2 milligrams, has fueled paranoia, but also distorted clinical decision-making. What's often missed in this discussion is that the most common cases of B6 toxicity didn't come from food or even responsible supplement use. They came from chronic oversupplementation, sometimes driven by outdated or incorrect dosing protocols, or individuals self-medicating for fatigue or neurological issues over long periods with high-dose pyridoxine hydrochloride, the synthetic, inactive form of B6. This form must be converted by the liver into pyridoxal 5-phosphate, PLP, and in some individuals, that conversion is inefficient. High levels of unmetabolized pyridoxine may accumulate and paradoxically interfere with nerve function. However, at typical supplement doses, 25 to 50 milligrams per day, and even up to 100 milligrams short-term, the risk of toxicity is extraordinarily low. These levels are commonly used in clinical practice to treat B6 deficiency, nausea during pregnancy, PMS symptoms, and certain types of neuropathy, including carpal tunnel syndrome. In fact, there is extensive evidence supporting the use of B6 within this range for everything from mood disorders to blood sugar control, especially when using the active form P5P, which is better utilized by the body and may reduce the risk of buildup-related side effects. Yet, because the fear of B6 toxicity has been widely circulated in both medical literature and consumer health blogs, often without appropriate context, many practitioners now avoid recommending B6 entirely. Others stick to very low doses, such as the 2 to 5 milligrams included in most multivitamins or prenatal formulas, which are often insufficient for people with higher metabolic demands or existing deficiencies. This caution, while understandable, often prevents people from receiving the levels of B6 that could genuinely support their health. Ironically, the overemphasis on toxicity risk has caused a kind of inverse deficiency epidemic. People with symptoms of B6 insufficiency, such as fatigue, brain fog, neuropathy, hormonal imbalance, or immune dysfunction, go untreated, simply because the nutrient in question is stuck in a stigma loop. B6 isn't sexy, it isn't patented, and it has no celebrity-backed campaigns. Instead, it's relegated to the nutritional sidelines while serious deficiencies go undiagnosed and uncorrected. To make matters worse, the form of B6 used in most supplements, pyridoxine HCl, is not ideal for everyone. As mentioned earlier, it requires conversion in the liver to become bioactive, and some people with liver dysfunction, inflammation, or certain genetic polymorphisms, such as in the PDXK gene, may have trouble completing this step. In these cases, using the active form, P5P, is safer, more effective, and less likely to build up in tissues. Yet, even knowledgeable clinicians may not differentiate between forms when assessing B6 status or prescribing supplementation. What the science actually supports is a rational, evidence-based approach, recognizing B6 as essential, understanding the signs of deficiency, appreciating its therapeutic potential, and supplementing at appropriate levels. For most adults, doses up to 50 milligrams per day are not only safe but beneficial, especially in populations with increased need, such as pregnant women, diabetics, the elderly, or those on medications that deplete B6, like oral contraceptives, isoniazid, or hydralazine. Even higher doses, in the 100 to 200 milligrams range, can be used short-term under medical supervision with minimal risk. In short, The fear of B6 toxicity has become disproportionate to the actual danger, especially when compared to the very real risks of deficiency. The widespread underuse of B6 is not the result of scientific consensus, but of a skewed narrative that overemphasizes rare outcomes and ignores common needs. This imbalance costs lives, not through acute toxicity, but through chronic undernourishment, misdiagnosis, and untreated biochemical dysfunction. Vitamin B6 deserves better. It deserves respect as a therapeutic agent, not suspicion as a toxic threat. By acknowledging its safety at practical doses, shifting to more bioavailable forms, and educating both the public and professionals about its real risks and benefits, we can break the stigma and put this crucial nutrient back where it belongs, at the center of functional health, not the margins of medical anxiety.